Okay, so I've done a couple of years of research. So a lot of my time I spent developing technologies in terms of stem cells and gene therapy to cure selected diseases, such as HIV, sickle cell anemia, a couple of genetic disorders. And we developed quite nice technologies. But the issue that I had with research is that you spend all this time developing the technologies, and at the end nobody wants it. They don't want to fund it because they have previous technologies that they want to support, and they want to make money, so they won't invest in these new technologies. So why would I spend another 7 years to develop more technologies for people that don't want it? So I left research, the academic research area, and I started my own thing. So within a few months, with early morning hours, I've studied the human immune system and how we can actually solve our diseases. Okay. So to start off with, most of us are ill, and it's not just out of the air. There's a reason to it, right? And the reason is, over the past few years, we've listened to all kinds of theories and people's stories and lies actually that comes from media, and that is killing us, right? So I'm not going to go into all the lies. It's quite a long story, but one of the lies is this simple triangle that was taught to us when we were in grade 2. So this food pyramid tells us to eat a lot of bread and pasta. You eat some vegetables, a little bit less milk and meat, and some sugar at the top. But in reality, most of us eat a lot of sugar, a lot of bread and pasta, and then onto that a lot of oil, bad oils. So those three things has a major influence on us. So if we carry on eating like this, we will look like this. Right, so our shape will conform to the triangle. Right, so the shape is not that important. That's not the issue. The issue is, in the end, it will kill us. Right. So a lot of us are ill. We are on the way to passing on, and we want to fix that. Right. We want to hunt this down. We want to see where the problems is and what we can change. Right. So if you look at a little bit of statistics, this is from 2016, the deaths within a year worldwide. So the blue columns are your non-communicable diseases. That's diseases that you can actually prevent. That's lifestyle diseases. So with that you have stroke, diabetes, Alzheimer's, many diseases that we sit with, and that's killing us. So take, for example, stroke. That's a couple of million people within a year, every year, that die because of this. And what are we doing about it? Not much. So in the end, it's like lemmings. We are like lemmings being chased down the cliff. We're told a lot of stories, a lot of things. We just carry on with it, and we die. And we get ill and we die. So what is the medical industry doing about it? They're treating the symptoms. They're taking advantage of this. Right? So there are a lot of symptoms. The more symptoms there are, the more they can treat, the more money they can make. Right, so this is a highly unethical industry, multi-billion-dollar industry. They want to cure you, or they want to treat you, or help you, but in the end it's just about money. All right, so if you go to what is causing all of this, we take the most common diseases: Alzheimer's, diabetes, cancer, neurological diseases, these type of things. What is causing all of this? If we can find out the source and solve that, we solve all the issues. Right. So is there a singular source, singular reason to all of these diseases? So with all my studies, I found that chronic systemic inflammation is the reason. So that is tied with insulin resistance. Right, so we are inflamed. A situation that's burning our bodies. Our joints are inflamed, our arteries are inflamed. It's called chronic systemic inflammation, and that is causing the diseases. So what is causing the inflammation? So the three major things in our diet is sugar, refined carbohydrates, and polyunsaturated fats. Right, so we'll go into depth into these three. There are other factors as well, such as inactivity and obesity. Right, so all these things together forms inflammation and is killing us. Right, so we have billions and billions of cells in our bodies. These are complex mechanisms, complex structures. Right, there's a lot of communication, a lot of energy, a lot of dynamics involved in these cells. So we need to take care of our cells. We have liver cells, brain cells, kidney cells, all kinds of different cells. Right, so an unhealthy cell struggles to communicate with other cells. It struggles to absorb nutrients and oxygen. It struggles to release the toxins from the cytoplasm. So we don't want to have cells like that. Those type of cells can become cancer. They can cause all kinds of trouble in our bodies. Right, so we want to move from the unhealthy cell to the healthy cell. So we can implement a couple of strategies to do that. So our bodies regenerate these cells all the time because they get old, they get tired, and they need to be replaced. Right, so different tissues have different replacement rates. Right, so all those cells comes from the stem cells. So we have liver stem cells, hematopoietic stem cells that produce the blood, mesenchymal stem cells that produce your fat and your bone and cartilage. So those stem cells are the source of these cells. So we need to help them out. We need to take care of them. All right, so with all these diets and things that we are used to, all these unhealthy things that we eat, our bodies get inflamed. It's like these the arteries there's a fire inside of it. And we want to be like the fire extinguisher, coming to take out the fire. All right, so what is causing the fire? So we see on the left, you have the omega-3, omega-6 ratio. That's incorrect. And that's a major source of inflammation. Right? Inflammation is tied with insulin resistance, so those two go hand in hand. So on the right, you have sugars, your refined carbohydrates, and those three together produce your inflammation. Right, so first we need to take out the cause of the issue, and then we need to solve the fire. All right, so one major role player in this is our gut. Right, so it's called the gut-brain axis. There's communication from your gut to your brain and your brain to your gut. They work together. It's like a second brain. So many times you think with your gut, you have a gut feeling, those type of things, right? So if your gut is messed up, you will not have a good gut feeling. Right, so on the left you have a normal person that's slim, the gut is healthy, the brain is healthy. But the problem is, most of us goes from the left side to the right side, right? And on the right side, you have a couple of issues, right? So the bacteria causes leaky gut syndrome. The leaky gut syndrome allows the content of your gut to flow through the exterior to your blood system. Then your immune system responds to all these foreign particles, causes inflammation. Your arteries are inflamed, and then you get neuroinflammation. That means your brain is inflamed, right? It basically swells. But you have a skull, so it prevents the swelling, obviously, to go out of hand. But that situation is not very good for your brain. So that, in turn, gives you depression, sensitivity to stress, social alterations, all kinds of issues because of your brain that's inflamed. So you don't want to be in that situation. So what is the cause of all of this? Little small organisms, living creatures in your gut. You have billions of them, even more than your normal cells. So these guys play an extremely important role in your health. Right? You have all kinds of bifidobacterium, lactoacid bacterium, all kinds of bacteria. So they play a function. They must be a good quantity. They must be diverse. They must be able to fight the bad organisms. So we need to take care of these bacteria. Right, so if we do it wrongly, we will look like this. So if we take a lot of sugar, a lot of antibiotics, you will kill off a certain population of cells and you will promote a selection of bacteria. So you will have an overgrowth of, say, E. coli and a depletion of bifidobacterium. So it's the bacteria is diminished, so you have less of them. They are unhealthy. you get selected populations and their function is affected. So they can't kill the bad bacteria. So now your whole gut is affected. It gets irritated, you get irritable bowel syndrome, you get leaky gut syndrome, all those things, and you want to prevent that. Alright, so this is how it looks in the gut. A little bit of a scientific side. You have symbiosis, so you have a lot of bacteria, good quality bacteria, good population, and the endothelium is healthy. There's no gaps in between them. And your immune system is happy, it's calmed down. But if you have, on the right side, the bacteria is affected. So you don't have enough of them, the colonies are distorted, and then the endothelium causes these gaps in between them. And now the content flows through. Now in the inside, the immune system has to react. So it gets inflamed, and you get all kinds of issues such as autoimmune diseases, allergies, those type of things. And it's mainly because of leaky gut syndrome. And these days, every second person has that. Alright, so let's look at sugar. So that's the first one of the three things in our diet that's causing inflammation. So there's a strong link between sugar and inflammation. Right, so this is the normal day-to-day living, the diet that we follow. So you take your breakfast, your body absorbs all the sugar, it spikes, and then your body has to release insulin, it brings it down, it goes too low, then it has to release glucagon to bring it up again. So as you eat, you go up and down and up and down. So it's quite a roller coaster in terms of energy for your body. So you might be familiar with the feeling after lunch. You just want to go to bed, you feel irritated, low energy, and that's because the sugar spiked and the insulin brought it down. So you have low sugar afterwards. Alright, so that's because of this up and down insulin thing. It affects our metabolism, it affects our insulin glucagon ratios. Right, so so what happens when you take a lot of sugar? It gets absorbed into your bloodstream. Your glucose level spikes. Right, it crosses a threshold, and that threshold for your brain is critical. Right, if you go above that, it becomes toxic for your brain. So it breaks down the brain cells. It's toxic. It's like even worse than the wine that you're drinking.
Worse.
You're worse. So, so this is quite critical. So now your body has to respond. It has to bring it down. So it releases insulin as an emergency measure to bring it down. It's like sirens going off. Too much glucose, bring it down. So now insulin takes it down, right? So it crosses a second threshold, which is too low for your brain. Then you get irritated. You have not a lot of energy for your brain, so it needs to release glucagon to bring it up again. So this is quite detrimental for your body. So this must be regulated all the time, right? But where does insulin take all the sugar? If it takes it out of the bloodstream, where does it go? It goes to your fat cells. That's the function of insulin. It pushes the glucose out of the bloodstream into your fat cells. So how it works, it opens the little doors on the side of the cell for the glucose to enter. It breaks down the lipids in your diet, takes it into your fat cell, and the third thing it does is it locks it down. So you can't lose fat if you still have insulin. So you go exercising, but you take insulin drinks, you will not lose fat because insulin. You take glucose drinks. The insulin locks down the fat cells. So you will struggle to lose fat while exercising. So if you look at glucose, what it does to insulin, it lifts it up, and in over a few hours it brings it down again, right? But if you look at fructose and compare to glucose, it spikes the insulin even higher, so way out of proportion. So with a too high insulin, your receptors for the insulin it gets broken. So you need more and more insulin to do the same effect. And that is called insulin resistance. So fructose cultivates insulin resistance, and over a period of time you will get diabetes. So we need to get away from fructose, right? That's the good sugar. The doctors tell you apple a day keeps the doctor away. No, that's why they want to bring you back to the doctor, so that they can make money from you. So the main problem is not the fruit. The fruit has a lot of sugar, yes, but it has enzymes and
apple sap.
Yes,
Wait.
it's the refined sugars. The culprit is fructose-rich corn syrup. Right? It comes from America. It was developed in the 1930s when they had the Great Depression. They developed it to get out of the bad economical state. Right, so they put this into everything. All our drinks, most of our food has this inside. So the sweets that we take has a lot of these refined fructose. So what it does is it causes hyperinsulinemia in your body. So it's too much insulin. Causes oxidative stress. Your beta cells are burned out. So the beta cells cannot produce your insulin anymore. You get diabetes. It causes your adipose tissue to swell. That's your fat cells. It increases in size. You get adipogenesis and a couple of things. So your cells expand as well in number. And that's because of fructose. It affects your cholesterol and a couple of things in your liver. So it's quite bad in terms of energy metabolism in your body. So how to counter it is physical exercise. It helps a lot. But who of us can do that every day? We have so much excuses, too little time. So we need an alternative to physical exercise. All right, so let's look at the amount we take daily. Our bodies are supposed to handle about 10 grams of fructose per day. Because of history at the bottom, so fructose was introduced into our diets, and we're running at the moment at around 100, more than 100 grams per day. Right, so our bodies cannot handle that much. And that's why we're getting ill. That's one of the big reasons. Right, so if you take a lot of fructose and glucose, you get these guys, AGEs. So AGEs forms where proteins are bound to the sugar, and the sugar distorts the orientation of the protein. So then the protein cannot do what it's supposed to do. So in short, it accelerates your aging, right? So your skin gets wrinkles, your joints are depleted, it affects your blood cells, all kinds of things that happen because of the AGEs, right? So we don't want to age quicker than we're supposed to, so we need to find an alternative. So let's look at the liver. How does the liver handle fructose? So it absorbs the fructose. Inside the fructose is all kinds of chemical reactions, but in the end it forms lipids. So you get lipid build up in your liver. So this we usually saw in alcoholics, but now we see it in the general population. So because of all the lipids that builds up, you have less liver cells, so they cannot do the function that they're supposed to do. And then you get illnesses. What also happens is uric acid is produced. So uric acid can be handled by your body, but if it's too much, it causes a couple of things. One thing is it suppresses nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is involved in supplying your brain with oxygen. Right, if you take away nitric oxide, you don't have enough oxygen for your brain. So with this, just you take away the energy, the glucose for the brain, it doesn't have enough energy, and you take away the oxygen, and you cause it to have inflammation. So obviously your brain is not going to function as it should. Right, so that's a major thing of fructose. And then secondly, it affects your mitochondria. These guys are seriously important for your body. So each cell has a couple of hundred of these. There are factories that produces the energy in your cells. They are crucial in a couple of mechanisms I will show you shortly. But what happens is if glucose and fructose are broken down into energy, the byproduct is superoxide. That's this little O2 minus things. They cause rust basically in your body. It's oxidation. So that's why we take antioxidants and supplements to take care of these oxidants. So the more sugar you take, the more antioxidants you need to supplement with. So we need to do both. We need to bring down the sugar and we need to up the antioxidants. All right, so these mitochondria are involved in many functions. So a few of them is they protect your DNA, they cause cell reproduction. So from the stem cell, you produce all these different cells. They are involved in that. If the cell is broken, it must be killed, must be reabsorbed in your body. They do this. Your brain needs to fire signals to the rest of your body to move and to sense. They are involved in this. So they are involved in quite a lot of things in your body. So we need to take care of them. They are seriously important and we need to nurture them. All right, so what do we do? We're used to the glucose diet, the up and down roller coaster. It's fun, but you have a couple of side effects. So we need an alternative. So the alternative is ketone energy. So that's the energy that's not regulated by your brain. So that means it's not necessarily to release insulin to bring it down. You don't have to bring it up again with glucagon. It's just constant. Right? So you have enough energy, doesn't matter what you do. And it's safe because it doesn't need to regulate ketones, so it's safe. So why wouldn't we rather go for the blue energy than the red energy? Better for your brain, better for your mitochondria, better for your liver. It solves your gut, all kinds of things. So we need to go into ketone energy. How do we get it? And how do we make use of the advantages? Right, so ketone energy is fantastic for your brain. So when your brain converts sugar to energy, it forms glutamate. And glutamate overstimulates your brain. So that means you give a child a fizzer and he will run around like a mad chicken. So it overstimulates the brain. In contrast to that, ketone energy, if the brain converts it to energy, it forms GABA. So GABA calms down the brain. It allows it to focus better, to concentrate. So the performance of your brain is just so much better. And you sleep well as well because of the ketone energy. Right, so per molecule, one ketone molecule uses less oxygen and produce more ATP. ATP is your energy per molecule. So it's much more efficient. So that's like a hybrid engine. It can either run on electricity or on petrol. Petrol is dirty. It has a lot of CO2 emissions. Where electric energy is quiet, it's clean, it's much more efficient. Right, so how does this affect the brain? So quickly, a few points. Ketone energy causes mitochondrial biogenesis. That means your brain creates more mitochondria. So that's a positive thing. Then it improves BDNF signaling. So BDNF is a brain-derived neurotrophic factor. So that causes your brain to create new neurons. Right? So if you have brain damage, you have Alzheimer's, dementia, this will cause the brain to grow back again, basically. According to the medicine industry, it's not possible, but it has been proven. BDNF helps with that. Right, then it improves insulin signaling. So now the brain can actually use the sugar that's available to him. He's not resistant to the sugar. So now it restores the energy as well. It reduces oxidative stress, so no more inflammation. So you restore the oxygen, you restore the energy, you calm down the inflammation, just to help the brain in all kinds of matters. You restore the glutamate GABA balance and also the omega-3 favoring. So we'll go a little bit into the omega-3 a little bit later. Right, so in essence, ketone energy is like rocket fuel for your brain. If you study, if you have long days of work, ketone energy will just increase your performance. It helps with students, helps with working people. It's just awesome. Right, so where do we get this? The Bible tells us to fast. We should fast. It's difficult. We shy away with it. We rather eat and eat too much. So what happens if you fast? Fasting, it tells your pancreas to release glucagon and insulin and basically adapt your metabolism in order to not use glucose anymore as energy, but rather use fat. So now the fat from the fat cell is taken to the liver, it's been chopped up into pieces, and that's the ketones, these little blue molecules in your arteries. Those molecules go to your brain, go to your muscles, everywhere, and they provide the energy. So it's easy, just fast. The more fat you have,
That's not easy.
right? We need a better way. So ketones, just a few benefits. It brings you into ketosis. It helps with autophagy. So when your cell is broken, when it's damaged and it wants to become a cancer or something, it must be killed, must be digested. Autophagy helps with that. So it cleans basically your body of damaged cells, damaged proteins. It just restores your gut, restores your arteries. We'll go into that soon. Your blood vessels are extremely important to regulate oxygen and energy, so you get high blood pressure and low blood pressure. If you do fasting, you help your arteries. Right, so fasting has a lot of benefits, but it's difficult, so we need to have an alternative. So the alternative is MCT oil. It's medium chain triglycerides. It comes from coconut oil. It's about 45% of the oil. It looks like that little squiggle there. It's a bit of science behind it, but the bottom line is it's a short chain energy source. Lauric acid, caprylic acid, and capric acid. It's 8 to 10 carbon in the chain. Right? It's extremely important, the length for digestion. So if it's 8 to 10 carbons in the chain, it gets absorbed by your portal vein. It's taken to your liver, and within 15 minutes you have energy and abundance of energy. Right? If you go anything longer than that, for example, olive oil, canola oil, you sit with a 16 to 18 carbon molecule, it gets absorbed by your lymphatic system. So your lymphatic system sorts the molecules that it absorbs. If it's positive, negative, will it affect you, will it kill you? So it's like a sieve to sort the molecules. Right, so you don't want to make use of that type of energy if you need it quickly. Right, so the ketone energy provides you with that type of energy. So within 15 minutes, you have the energy, and it will last you until whenever you need it again. So so ketone energy is really the alternative. We need to train our bodies to get rid of the sugar, to move more to ketones. It's called keto adaptation. So it's kind of a training that you need to put your body through. It doesn't take a lot of time. It's not very difficult to do, but in the end it will help your body a lot. Right, so just quickly, refined carbohydrates. Basically in the end it's just sugar. It's a compact form of sugar, concentrated form. So if it's broken down, it gives you glucose, it spikes insulin, and it has the same effect. Right. So if you take a portion of bread, it gives you roughly 5 teaspoons of sugar in the end. If you look at potatoes, one portion, 60 teaspoons of sugar. Look at rice, in the area of 30 teaspoons of sugar. And then pasta, the same. Right, so you're thinking you're eating nice, healthy food, but in the end you just get a lot of sugar. Right, so our starch work is just a long chain of glucose. It's like pearls in a string, a lot of glucose in the string. So the body chops it up, you get a lot of glucose, and you have the same effect. It is slower than normal glucose. It gets absorbed slower, gets digested slower, so the release is not as much as glucose, but in the end the body needs to do something with all that sugar. So where does it go? It goes to your fat. Right. So we need to get away from the refined carbohydrates. Then thirdly, polyunsaturated fats. So polyunsaturated fats, that's the omega-3s. It comes from your canola oil, sunflower oil, basically the normal oils that you buy in the supermarket. So the omega-6 on the left, it gets converted to all kinds of things, but in the end it causes inflammation. Right? So you're drinking this oil, you're using it to fry your French fries, but you cause inflammation, your body's inflamed. On the other side you have omega-3. So omega-3 is really valuable for your body. Right? So the doctors might give you fish oil to drink. So that's your EPA and DHA. Right? So that's good omega-3s. But the problem is they don't give you the fundamental omega-3 building block. And that comes from flaxseed oil. So that's alpha-linoleic acid. Your body can convert it to the other two as it needs. It fights inflammation, it's anti-inflammatory, and it also fights the effect of omega-3. right? So your body needs this a much bigger ratio of omega-3 than omega-6, right? So you need to supplement, you need to get this in somewhere, right? So your body binds 3 to 6 and it forms 9, right? So 9 you don't need to supplement it, your body makes it, but you need to have more omega-3s, right? So this flaxseed oil is really something in nature that we don't find anywhere else. So if we compare all the oils available to us, this whole list, I just want to point out the orange bar, that's your alpha-linoleic acid. That's your building block for your other omega-3s. If you compare it to all the other oils, flaxseed oil, flaxseed powder oil is the only source that has a significant amount of this oil. Right, so it's easy. It's 20 Rand for a packet. Put it on your porridge, put it in your shake, wherever, and you have it. Easy, 20 Rand. So flaxseed powder is not just about the oil, all kinds of other benefits. It has soluble and insoluble fibers. It has enzymes that's important for testosterone conversion and estrogen and all of those things. So it's a really nice source to put in your diet. Okay, so if you look at what does it do to your body, in terms of fat cells, it adapts your fat cell to a energy or a ketone energy rather than glucose energy. So it helps with insulin resistance. It helps your arteries to expand and contract better, so it will solve high blood pressure and low blood pressure. It affects your heart, or helps your heart to have a proper rhythm, proper sound, basically its function. And it also helps your liver and in its metabolism. Right, so omega-3s has many benefits, and we don't really know of all of this. So we need to make use of this source. Right, so quickly, where did it all go wrong? If you look at history, in the 1970s, these three things were majorly introduced into the public. We have a very steep increase of your refined sugars, your fructoses, your refined carbohydrates, and your polyunsaturated fats. So these three in combination is the cause of the majority of our diseases. That is the essence of what we need to solve, these three issues. So we need to get away of them. Right, obviously there are other factors. Stress play extremely big role. I'll go into stress a little bit later more, but what it does is it drops your calcium. Because of the dropped calcium, you get lesions in your arteries. Now your LDL must come to solve the lesions, the damage in the arteries. It builds up, you get plaques, they burst, and you get a heart attack. Right, so cortisol is serious, and it comes from stress. Right, then genetics plays a role. Some of us can tolerate glucose better. Some of us are very sensitive and must stay away by all cost. So some of us can handle a little bit, but only for a while. If we take too much sugar, in the end we still get diabetes. Right, then chemicals play a role. The amount of alcohol that you drink, heavy metals, exposure to radiation and those type of things, but we're not going to go into that because we cannot solve all of them. Much easier to solve the diet. So then we spoke about the bacteria in our gut. We need to solve them, and we need to solve exercise. So exercise plays quite a big role, and what I recommend for people to do is to at least do 5 or 10 minutes of exercise. That's not too much to ask. In the mornings before you eat, do a few push-ups, do a few sit-ups, just to get your body going and to use the right energy. Right, so let's look at a few diseases. First, obesity and diabetes. Most of us are affected by this, and it's not too difficult to solve. There's a lot of sciencey stuff, but just quickly, high fat and sucrose diet, it causes inflammation, it causes adipogenesis and lipogenesis, insulin resistance, and it affects your sleep at the bottom. Right? So omega-3 on the left, that solves everything that sugar does. Right? It prevents lipogenesis, adipogenesis. It even helps you to sleep better. So just take a few teaspoons of flaxseed and you will sleep better. Right, so a big role in diabetes is your sympathetic and your parasympathetic system. So sympathetic is your fight or flight. That's when a tiger or a lion chases you, you need to respond quickly. You need to fight back or you need to run. Right, that's your sympathetic. That's your adrenal glands excreting cortisol, and cortisol releases the sugar from your reserves in your muscles so that you have a lot of energy. Right, so on the other side you have parasympathetic system. That's your rest and digest. That's your body calming down, taking a nap, absorbing the nutrients that you ate. So these two are in contrast to each other. When one is up, the other one is down. So the problem is most of us are in a sympathetic dominant state. That means we stress too much. We are in constant stress at our work, at home, with our kids, marriages. We're in dominant states. So our bodies never have the chance to calm down, to rest and digest. And due to this, our thyroids are affected. Right? So the adrenals are the sympathetic and your thyroid is the parasympathetic. So if you stress, your adrenals go up and your thyroid goes down. And if you rest too much and you don't work enough, your thyroid is too high and your adrenals are too low. Right? So these two must be in balance. And most of our ladies are affected by this. They are diagnosed with an underactive thyroid or an overactive thyroid. And what does the doctors do? They radiate your thyroid, you lose half of it, and that thyroid is extremely important in your metabolism. Or it's underactive, and now you need to take hormones to push it up again. And that hormones has then all kinds of other effects. So please, if you have a thyroid issue, try not to go into too much of what the doctor says. Try the alternative methods first, and if it doesn't work, you can maybe follow the doctor. Right, so how do we support the thyroid? There's a couple of things that we need to do. We need to support it with selenium, support it with zinc. We need to take away the things that hurt it. So you have fluoride in the water, you have stress, you have all kinds of aspects. So if you have thyroid issues, you're welcome to come to me and we can try and solve it. So the diet that we recommend has a lot of things already in it. So you don't need to do a lot of tests. It will automatically solve the thyroid issues. Okay. So then quickly what the thyroid does is it converts a hormone from T4 to T3. So T3 is the active form of this hormone, and T3 is involved in your mitochondria. So if you have T3, your mitochondria is active. You have too little T3, it's inactive. Right, so I'm not going to go into the science of that, but in the end what it does is, if you have an overactive thyroid, you have a couple of symptoms like flu, you're too hot, you're all over the place, you're irritated. If the thyroid is underactive, you're cold, you have not enough energy, there's all kinds of symptoms to that. So we want you in the sweet spot. So the thyroid must be just right, not overactive or underactive. So these products helps with that, so that your liver and your thyroid works together. All right, so then cancer. Cancer is a big thing. How do we solve cancer? The doctors will tell you, go for 60,000 Rand per shot chemotherapy or radiation therapy, and in the end it will cost you 500,000 to 1 million Rand or above to treat your cancer. But by understanding how it's formed and how to treat it, you can get away with a 500 Rand a month rather than a few million Rand. So to look at the mechanism, your fat cells at the top, they excrete chemokines and all kinds of matters that drives cancer formation, cancer division, right? So the fat is one of the major sources of generation of fat of cancer cells. The same is done by your gut. So if you have an unhealthy gut, it releases chemokines, and those chemokines drive cancer formation. The same with insulin. If you have insulin resistance, it has a direct and indirect effect. So your diet is a major role player in terms of cancer formation. So solve these three issues: your gut, your liver, and your fat cells, and you solve the major source of cancer formation. Right, but that's not the only place where we can fight. Right, so cancer cells, they love sugar. That's the only source of energy, is sugar. Where normal cells, they can use ketones, fat, and sugar. So one of the mechanisms to kill cancer, just take away the sugar. You starve your cancer and they will die. Right? You make them more sensitive to all kinds of therapies, and that's one of the major areas where we can fight. Two other areas that we also use is MSM. I will get to MSM soon, but what that does is it allows the oxygen to enter into the cancer cells. So with my studies, I found that cancer cells love hypoxia. So hypoxia is the area where there's little oxygen. So it goes and hides in your bones, all kinds of places where there's not enough oxygen. So what MSM does is it floods your cancer cells with oxygen, just blows it up. It becomes sensitive and it dies. Right, so that's the second mechanism. And the third one is something that costs 20 Rand. A packet of apricot kernels. Right? Eat your apricot, open the pit, and inside is a kernel. Take 20 of that, and that's one of the major ways we can kill cancer. So in my studies, I was told, do not eat the pit, it will kill you. It has cyanide, it's toxic. And 10 years later, I went to study this, and I found that it doesn't have cyanide. I was lied to. It has a precursor to cyanide. So your body has to convert it to cyanide in order for it to be effective. And your cancer cells has 5 times more of that enzyme than your normal cells. So eating your kernels, you take in the precursor, it converts to cyanide, all the cancer cells die, and the rest are fine. It's not like chemotherapy that kills all your fast dividing cells. So these three things in combination is a major contribution to killing cancer cells. So I won't say it will kill all the cancer cells, but the majority of these cells can be killed. Right, and it works. We have treated a few people. Right, so let's quickly look at cancer, to calcium, cardiovascular diseases, and arthritis. Right, so we have 4 little glands in your throat. It's called the parathyroid glands. It's small, it's like rice grain seeds. So these kernels or these glands are involved in calcium regulation. So it tells your bones to release calcium, because when you stress, your calcium levels depletes. So it must get it from somewhere. So it tells the bone, listen, this guy is in stress, release your calcium. So then your bones get brittle and it breaks easy. And it also tells your kidneys to stop urinating your calcium. Right? So in that, it brings the calcium levels back up. But it can only do that when it's healthy. When it's unhealthy, it doesn't work. So the major thing it uses it to be functional is vitamin D3. And most of us are depleted. We don't have enough D3. We don't spend enough time in the sun. We don't have enough cholesterol to convert it to D3. So D3 is a major role player in the health of these cells. And because of the glands that's unhealthy, you get arthritis. And you also, when you lose fat, it also retains the fat, or it helps you to stay lean. So a lot of diets, you easily lose your fat, but then when you return to your normal diet, you just put on twice as much. And that's because your parathyroid glands are not healthy. So with calcium regulation and D3 and K2, we can solve the issue. Right, so a lot of people look like this. It's extremely painful. It's a terrible condition. That's rheumatoid arthritis or osteoarthritis. Very painful. So a lot of the people that comes to see me has this problem. The main cause of this is leaky gut syndrome. The gut is unhealthy because the particles go into the bloodstream. You have an autoimmune disease and it attacks your joints. So solve the gut and you solve the arthritis. Right, so there's a couple of things that we can do to solve the problem. You give them K2 and D3. So K2 is extremely important in calcium regulation. So what D3 does is it causes your calcium to be absorbed 20,000 times more, right? But where does all the calcium go? Your body needs to take it somewhere. If it doesn't have K2, it builds up in your joints, and you get calcification of the arteries in your joints, and it defies the point. But if you take K2, that calcium can be taken back to your bones. It's like a messenger grabbing the calcium, taking it back to the bone. Right, so we give them D3K2, a lot of potassium. Potassium is extremely important in many processes in our body, especially for your heart and your arteries. So we need a lot, not just 2 bananas a day, we need 2 boxes of bananas a day. So we need to supplement, we don't get enough of that. We can give them colostrum. Colostrum helps with the hormone regulation and the gut. We need to help the hormone regulations. We need to increase cortisol and decrease insulin. So with this packet, it sorts those 2 issues, and we have relief of the symptoms. With the package, the allergies are also taken care of, and the gallbladder is supported. So the gallbladder is easily taken out by doctors. They just say, okay, there's crystals inside of it, just take it out. But after that, you have so many side effects. It's not worthwhile. So we need to prevent our gallbladder from forming these crystals inside of it. So the gallbladder actually converts the T4 from the thyroid to T3. So if you take away the gallbladder, you don't have that mechanism. So then you have to supplement. And the doctors makes money of that. So that's why they do it. Right, so we need to help people to not go that route. Right, so then MSM. So this is one of the major components of our product. So MSM, I won't go into the scientific name of that, but what it does is it goes to your stem cells. It helps with the oxygen entering the stem cells, and then it can actually function better. The stem cells differentiate into your cartilage, your bone, and all kinds of tissue. So you can restore arthritis, you can restore many diseases because you support the stem cells. You can go through this list. There's quite a lot of stuff it works with. It helps to reduce stress. It reduces your stiffness. Many things. So sports people love this. So just quickly on this. So when you take this product, you get a lot of ketones, and you get this MSM in as well.
Sure about number 5?
Yes. Takes a while. So you all know the guy Lance Armstrong, the cyclist. So he outcompeted quite a lot of his competitors because he had a mutation in his muscle that prevented his body from making lactic acid. So he didn't have any lactic acid built up in his muscles. So no stiffness, no cramps, none of those. And he outperformed. And this product does the same. You will not have stiffness after exercising. Your muscle recovery will be much better. So I thought by myself, isn't this a little bit unethical? You give the people a much greater advantage to the competitor. And in the end I thought, well, you can get it anyway. You can get it at a local store. Well, it's not illegal. But to the customers, it provides quite a lot of benefits. So the MCT oil with MSM just give you much better muscle recovery, much better performance, because you have better energy available to your muscles. All right, so MSM is also extremely important for arthritis. So it alleviates the inflammation. It helps the stem cells to repair the joints. So for arthritis people, this is one of the major products. So we recommend you take about 3 grams per day. If you have serious diseases, you can even go to 6 grams, but don't overdo it. Okay. So let's look at cardiovascular diseases. So over a period of time, when you eat incorrectly, your arteries get this plaque. Right? It's a buildup of LDL. So the doctors tell you LDL is bad. Take this supplement or this drug, right? But the LDL is not the problem. So the mechanism, how it works is, when you stress, the calcium drops, you get lesions, the LDL comes to restore the lesions. Right? So the calcium is firstly the problem, so stress. Then LDL is like a plaster, it heals it. So they say, kill the LDL. But LDL is an extremely valuable mechanism in your body. So your liver produces this little round ball, it's LDL, it's big, and it travels through your body and it delivers cholesterol, it delivers enzymes to your body. And it shrinks, and as it shrinks, it gets recycled through your liver and it produces new LDL. So the problem is not actually the LDL. The problem is the sugar damages the receptor on the LDL, so that when it has to recycle, it cannot be recognized and it cannot recycle. So then it sits around too long in your arteries, and then it builds up, right? You get glycation, you get oxidation of this, and just a lot of problems. Just in terms of the immunology that I studied, you get macrophages. So macrophages are supposed to clear the problem. It's like a little Pac-Man that eats the LDL away. But the macrophages use vitamin D3 to do its function. So if you don't have enough vitamin D3, you will have an issue. So it's stress, it's the sugar, it's via vitamin D3. So there's a couple of things involved in this mechanism. But if you go on this recommended diet, you will solve all these problems, right? So the doctors tell you cholesterol is the issue. Here's a drug. They make money. They tell you LDL is the issue. Here's the drug. They make money. But there's no correlation between cholesterol and LDL and heart diseases. Nothing. It's just a scam. They just make money. There's no involvement of those two things in heart disease. High blood pressure? Yes, a little bit of correlation. But high blood pressure is so inaccurate. The mechanism that they put this thing on your arm, they pump it, and you get your systolic and diastolic pressure, very, very inactive. Some people's arms are much thicker, thinner, you have white, black, Indian, all those things affects the results. So it's very, very inaccurate. Look at insulin resistance. The correlation is much, much more significant. So if you have insulin resistance problems, yes, you will have high blood pressure. Yes, you will have cholesterol issues. But don't kill those things. That's not the problem. The problem is insulin resistance. So fix your diet, bring down the resistance, and you will solve your heart issues, your high blood pressure and your low blood pressure issues. Right, so this is just to quickly show you the correlation. As a professor that did a study with 400 patients, he divided them in low insulin resistance, medium insulin resistance, and high insulin resistance groups. So the low insulin resistance groups had no disease in a 7-year period and no deaths. The medium insulin resistance had, I think, 7 to 12 diseases and deaths, and the high insulin resistance had about 60 diseases and deaths. So that's a very, very strong correlation between insulin resistance and death. So then let's look at your arteries. So inside your arteries, you have this little layer called glycocalyx. It's little hairs. It's called glycoproteins. So these proteins protects your endothelium from damage, from inflammation, from all kinds of things. So when you eat, this layer depletes, right? So within a few hours, you have no layer left. So your cells are exposed to inflammation, exposed to viruses and bacteria. So this is important. It can grow back within 8 hours, but the problem is we eat again within 4 hours. We eat too regularly. You will ask a dietitian what to do, they will tell you eat 6 times a day, right? So you have it causes your glycocalyx to be depleted. It causes you to have too much insulin. You get diabetes and you get artery issues. You get high blood pressure and low blood pressure, and that's because of the dietitians that wrongly advise you. So the ideal is to not eat. So if you not eat, this is restored, your gut is restored, your mitochondria is restored. So we need to make use of the fasting mechanism to restore the body. Right, so all these effects, just in summary, the sugar, the refined carbohydrates, polyunsaturated fats affects your liver, and because of that you get a lot of diseases, So that's the problem, that's the issue. You can detect it. You can go to the doctor and test for GGT. I say, why do it? It just wastes money. If you have GGT or not, when you take the product, it will solve the problem. So it's not necessarily necessary to go and do the tests. Right, so quickly, when you go in the product, you will lose weight. People lose weight within 3 days. They can go up to 20 kgs within 2 months that you lose. So when you lose a lot of fat in a short period of time, the toxins inside the fat also gets released, right? And then you feel bad. So then you stop with the diet and you just carry on, right? So you bail out. So to prevent that, we have a product that detoxify you, right? To clear the toxins from the fat cells, so you don't feel bad when losing all this fat. Right, then we have many other products as well. So these products are specific to certain diseases. When you have heart disease or stress or depression or things, I can recommend a couple of other things. So this just the example, L-carnitine. It helps with your brain function, memory, concentration. It helps with fat burning, and also many other effects that I'm not going to go into. Right, so let's look at the brain. So we did touch on it. We want to get away with suboptimal brain function. So we want to heal the brain. Most of us are affected. So we spoke about the oxygen. With this product, you solve the oxygen issue. You restore the energy to the brain. Your hormones are restored. Mitochondria is increased. Inflammation is suppressed. And your neurotransmitters are improved. So you actually have neurons that can function. They are healthy, they are vigorous, the memory is increased, and your concentration is increased. So we do have a couple of products for the brain. If you have depression, ADHD, your child is maybe on Ritalin, we can advise a couple of products for the brain issues. Right, so quickly the package. So we look at the holistic viewpoint. It's not just sugar, it's not just your exercise, it's not just sleeping. So it's a holistic package. All of these things together will help you to restore your health. So at the top we have the Super Shake. That has the proteins, that has the vitamins, the K2, D3. It has selenium and zinc for your thyroid. There's all those things in one package. It has the fiber, the insoluble fiber, all those things in there. So with that, we can solve a lot of issues, but we need a few other things as well. Secondly, we need apple cider vinegar. So apple cider vinegar is taken to decrease the pH of your stomach. So the older you get, the more your body struggles to keep your pH low. So we need to help the body. So we take apple cider vinegar. It also helps with your gallbladder function to clear out the crystals. It helps with to solve depression. Right? So I don't know if you know that 90% of your serotonin gets produced in your gut. So if you have depression, don't take an antidepressant. Solve your gut, and you solve the depression. So the apple cider vinegar works well with that. It helps your gut to restore. So what it also does is it closes the valve at the bottom of your stomach and at the top of your stomach. So if you have acid reflux, you can take this and it will close the top of the top valve. So many people take a base like baking soda or something like that to neutralize the pH of your stomach. That's the worst thing that you can do, because then you affect you affect the absorption of the nutrients. Your valves doesn't close. You just mess up the whole system. So rather decrease the pH, and you will help your body. So with this package, vitamin absorption is crucial. Right? So it doesn't help you to take a multivitamin and your body cannot absorb all the vitamins. You'll just urinate everything out. Right? So you need to solve the gut issue in order to get those nutrients to your cells and to the places where it needs to be. So the apple cider vinegar works with that. And then the kefir and kombucha. It's very, very useful in the package. So what that does is it provides the bacteria that you don't have. So the bifidobacterium, lactic acid bacterium, all kinds of bacterium in there to restore the gut. It has all kinds of other benefits as well for your joints and depression and all those things. So we recommend it in the package. Then fasting, I will come to that now. We do intermittent fasting. We recommend that you do at least 10 minutes of exercise in the morning before you eat, so that you can start to burn the fat. Get into the sun for 30 minutes a day. That will help your D3 to supplement or to be produced. If you can't get into the sun, take a supplement. Take a D3 tablet. Then stress reduction. Right, so we want to decrease the cortisol production and up the thyroid. So we need to solve the stress. Right? So many of us cannot solve it. We need to go to work. We are in relationships and things that we cannot get away with. So we need to help you to reduce your stress. All kinds of techniques where you can apply pressure on your neck. You can take supplements to help your stress. So if you have stress issues, we can talk about it. So we can recommend a few things. And then sleep. Sleep is crucial for your digestion, for your absorption of your nutrients. If you can't sleep, the ketogenic diet will help you. The GABA will be produced. GABA comes down the brain and you can sleep better. If you sleep better, your nutrient absorption is better and you help the system. Right, so this is quite a package. Everything is put together for you. So if you buy into the system, you will get the shake, the apple cider vinegar, the MSM, all of these things in a package. So in the beginning I thought, I have to get vitamin D3 somewhere, K2, and I have to mix it together. In the end, it was quite a slip. So I found a way to make it easier and to be affordable for you. So this shake has a cost of around 30 rand per day. Right, so we recommend that you skip your breakfast, you take a shake at lunch, and you take your supper in the evening. So with this, you'll save money. So we'll look into that. Right, so before we go into the strategy, I just want to touch on enzymes. So with fruit and meat and fungi, we get enzymes into our bodies. And those enzymes are involved in digesting the proteins, break down the fat. So we need to get enough of these things in our diet. So with the shake, you get proteins from papaya, from pineapple, and a couple of other sources as well. So you can go through the list, but what I just want to show you that the pH plays a role, the type of proteins and those things. So everything of that, all the enzymes are already inside the package, so you don't have to worry about that. Then quickly, water. Water is essential for the cleansing of your body. 80% of the Americans or 70% of the Americans are dehydrated. Same with us, we don't take enough water. So water, you need to be mindful of this. Put a bottle of water next to you to cleanse your body and to get at least 2 liters of water per day in. Right, so I'm not going to go too much into that. What I want to talk to you about is where we come from and where we want to go to. So the general diet of a person is eat your big meal in the supper in the evening, take pizza, all kinds of fatty things, pudding afterwards, so your supper is quite big and very unhealthy. In the morning you take a breakfast of maybe Wheat Bix or Kellogg's with a lot of sugar. You take drinks in between, and at lunch you have a burger, you have chips. This is the general diet that we take. Very, very unhealthy, as you can understand now. What it also does is it's very expensive. Right, so it costs you quite a lot to follow this. And not only that, because of the diet you will pay a significant amount to the doctors as well. For your insulin, for your statins and all those things. It's very, very expensive. So what we recommend is take a healthy supper, take enough oils, reduce your sugar, kind of eat whatever you want. Just cut back on your starches, cut back on your sugars, and eat healthy. Right. Then you skip your breakfast. You basically do a intermittent fasting. So that 16 hours is enough for your body to recuperate, for your glycocalyx to restore, for your gut to restore, for your autophagy to kick in. So in America, when you have depression, they give you antidepressants. It costs you quite a lot, and it's quite toxic. You have side effects such as suicide. So you don't want to take that route. In Russia, when you have depression, what they do is they put you on a fasting period, 4 to 12 hours of fasting, and it solves depression. But not only that, it solves cancer, it solves diabetes, all kinds of things just by fasting. But to do a 4 to 12 day of fasting is not easy. So the same benefits of a 4 to 12 day fasting you get with intermittent fasting. Much easier. We help you to go into that. It's a little bit of an adaptation, but the benefits of that is essential. Right, so then you take your shake at lunch. You can take your kefir or your kombucha throughout the day. Your apple cider vinegar you put on water. You take 1 tablespoon or 2 tablespoons on a glass of water, and you drink it whenever you want. So this whole package is it will convert your body from running on glucose to running on ketones. It will help your body to restore the gut and all the other effects. Right, so this strategy has been implemented with people that had many diseases, such as cancer, stroke, Alzheimer's, obesity, and it works fantastically. People losing 20 kgs within 2 months, diabetes people that go off insulin. We get cancer people that's cancer-free. We have autoimmune diseases like multiple sclerosis. They have just restored energy. I can go on. Depression, people that stopped the antidepressants. Cardiovascular diseases, high blood pressure that came down. So many stories that we can go into. So this has been quite a journey for me. It helped me a lot to improve my health and the health of other people. And people just come back and they just tell these stories of how it affected them. There's one lady in Kroonstad that had an operation, and I think her bladder was partially removed, and she couldn't get out of bed. She didn't have enough energy. So her husband had to bring her food and all those things. So she used this for 2 days, and then I found her working in the garden. She had just so much energy. All that was restored. I had a couple that had a boy of, I think it was 7 years old, and he had type 1 diabetes. This is a terrible disease where your pancreas cannot produce insulin at all. So there's no insulin, no beta cells. So the mother had to, whenever the son would take a meal, had to calculate all the calories inside the meal, slot it into the computer, and the computer releases the exact amount of insulin that he needs. So at night time, the lady was so stressed because the boy can go, the glucose level can drop so much, he can go into a coma, he can die. So that lady was stressed every night. So when they went onto this system, everything changed. The boy had so much energy. He asked for the oil, he asked for the powder. The mother can sleep, the father can sleep because the mother is sorted out. So it affected the whole household. And the reason is the boy couldn't regulate its glucose, but now it has this constant ketone energy. The glucose can go up and down, it's fine. The brain has enough ketone energy. So the boy's just changed. His personality changed, his performance changed. So many stories that I can tell you. So just quickly for what happened to me is my varicose veins started to disappear. So because the arteries was restored, my joints was quite stiff previously, and it's helped quite a lot. And then I gave up my glasses. So I was -4. I had -4 glasses, and because of this this strategy, I got headaches. And I was like, what? I'm eating healthy and now I'm getting headaches. So I went to the optometrist, and he told me, but you're getting headaches because your glasses are too strong. And I'm like, what? How can my eyes improve in health How can I restore my vision? And I went back home and I did some study, and I realized that because of this strategy, the inflammation of my optic nerve depleted. So the optic nerves could fire much better. I did some exercises on my extraocular muscles to strengthen them, and I did some exercises to relax the intraocular muscles so that I can actually focus better, the shape of my eye restored. And now I don't need the glasses anymore. So now I can actually drive without glasses, and I was -4. And my father is an eye specialist, and he was like, what? It's not possible. And it took me 6 months to convince him that it is actually possible. All right, so you're welcome to ask any questions. So if you need specific or more time with me, we can schedule a meeting, and we can go through all the symptoms and see where I can help you. All right. So thank you very much. It has been quite a long time, a long presentation, but you're welcome to ask questions.